All right. What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Kings and Priests podcast. This is episode 57, which is actually so wild. I'm here with my amazing co-host, Dean Sweetman. What's up, Dean?
How are you, mate? I'm fantastic.
57 conversations with me you've had over the last year and a half, and you're still hanging around. So we're in the midst of, it's Thursday, May 25th. We're in the midst of what feels like the AI revolution. And I know for anyone listening to this, we are going to start sounding like a broken record, but I actually don't think we have much choice if we're having conversations around business, because this seems to be the thing not just everyone is talking about, but is it possibly the thing propping up the U.S. economy at the moment?
But it's propping up the venture capital economy, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Exactly. So, today, this morning, NVIDIA, which has really been kind of a Wall Street darling, really for the last, for a long time now, but it shares jumped 27% in pre-market trading today, this morning, in pre-market trading as a result of their earnings call yesterday, right? So if this is crazy, this is a crazy stat. If the pre-market gains hold, the company's market value would raise more than $200 billion, which would mark the biggest one-day rise in history. The second to that is Apple's $191 billion pop in November 2022, which is the current record. So 7 months ago, NVIDIA closed at a 2-year low of $112 a share, and since then it has soared 235%. And no stock on the S&P 500 has even come close to that. Second best is Meta, jumping 97%. That's insane. Absolutely insane.
Yep.
Give me your, give me your thoughts on.
Yeah. Well, all the tech got hammered, last year when inflation kicked in and everyone got worried and rates went up and people got out of tech. And so, so they're coming back, obviously. NVIDIA makes the chips that the servers need to run AI, right? So it's a very unique kind of chip set. All the chip makers are going to be booming in the next 10 to 20 years because, you think about what's this revolution of AI, which we've talked about before, which we think is going to be as big or maybe bigger than the internet and mobile as our third big moment here in the last 25, 30 years. You need a lot of CPU power. And so chip makers that make the chips that can power the servers that live in the cloud that drive things like AI are just going to just keep rocking and rolling. So I wish I'd have bought the stock a year ago. I think I do.
Gosh, I know, right?
I think I do own it.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm pretty positive I do own it. But
yeah. And I would assume anyone that is it in the QQ? It's in QQQ, maybe.
It's in the Qs,
I don't know.
Yeah.
It is? Okay. So most... So people at least own some of it, right? A lot of folks do. Yeah, it's crazy. That is...
The Qs have been rocking and rolling, right, for the last 4 months. So, yeah.
So you've got... It's kind of crazy, right? Because you have this weird disparity between AI. Basically, any company involved in AI or even rumored to be involved in AI has just been on a tear, right? And then you have, the debt ceiling negotiations. You have, it's a wild disparity between what seems to be happening in the world of technology and AI and sort of like the normal everyday economy.
Yeah.
And it does kind of feel like AI is it's basically a new shot of momentum in what was pretty much stagnant waters, right?
Yeah, good timing. Look, we're releasing a new AI product in a month. We're building AI into different parts of our business. One anecdotal, someone left in customer support. They moved on. And instead of replacing them, we are putting in some AI in our chatbot. Costs about 30 grand. So this person would cost us about 60 grand, right? By the time you do benefits and everything. And we're replacing them for 30 grand forever. And we think that it's going to do the work of at least 5 people. Mm-hmm. So I'm not looking to lay people off. I've never had to do that. We've grown kind of frugally with people, but what's happening now is like, because when you can ask a question about anything to do with a product and it gives you back the answer and tells you what to do, and you don't have to get on like the phone with support, it's just insane. It's
absolutely insane.
It's just mind-boggling. And so, like we talked about, things like customer support, engineering, content creation, AI is just going to blow these things up. Now, don't be afraid that you're going to lose your job because AI is going to take over. Become the person who's an expert at using it. Someone's still got to prompt AI.
Right.
We're not at this place yet where AI can just think by itself, and hopefully we never get there. But AI still needs humans to get the best out of it. So become an expert.
Exactly. Use it to be 10 to 20 or 30 times more productive.
More productive.
Right? Like I'm doing something tomorrow. It's funny. So we're launching an agency side of the business here in the next couple of weeks of Vast, right? I've met so many pastors, so many leaders, so many voices who just want help doing this. So I've made it my challenge that tomorrow, using AI, I am going to, by myself, I'm not a coder, I'm going to build out the website for it. And I've already started working with the AI to build all the copy. And in 8 hours, I'm going to start it. I'm going to have it done, and I'm going to build it. 6 months ago, I never would have been able to do that.
Correct.
And I'm just like, you got to learn this stuff. You absolutely have to learn it. There are so many newsletters that you can follow. There are, I mean, it really is like a wealth of knowledge. And it's not just like quote unquote solopreneurs like me or tech people. My wife works at a fashion brand, basically run by a private equity, and her CEO uses it.
Oh yeah,
all the time for
I've
everything.
Instructed for all of our staff to have the tab up. We pay for ChatGPT. I'm in 4.0 all day, and I've said to my team, like, you need to be doing something in AI every day. Like, I don't even care if you take 15 minutes and play around and ask questions and about you, like, just get in it. And everyone's doing it. And so literally this person, left the company, and we just, paid up for this big AI feature within Zendesk, which is our kind of support ticket tool. And I think we're just 5x capacity for customer service.
Yeah. That's crazy. It's crazy when you think about, if you think about this stat of by the way, just a chip maker, right? Is now rivaling growth levels of Facebook and Apple, which were both completely culture, world shifting companies. And if that's just if that's any kind of tell as to what the next 10, 15, 20 years are going to look like, man, we really are living in crazy times.
Well, think about like social media, right? That was a big interruption, in the internet. And then of course, Apple drove the mobile revolution, single-handedly. I don't, I give Google a lot of credit for other things. I don't give Google credit for the mobile. They essentially copied Apple, but so it makes sense that NVIDIA is rocketing to the moon because they're going to drive the AI growth, essentially.
Yep. Okay, so let's talk next about some things that are causing the opposite of growth, which is this Bud Light and Target debacle. Okay, so if you don't know, the market value of Anheuser-Busch, their fourth best-selling brand is Bud Light. Okay, so you think about Anheuser-Busch being one of the great American companies, right? Going back.
Remember those Real Men of Genius ads? Right? Jake and I used to crack up and quote Real Men of Genius ads to each other. I'm not a Bud Light drinker, but man, the marketing. So think about this. 20, 30 years of building a brand. Okay. The moral of this little segment is like, protect your brand at all costs, because you spend hundreds of, I don't know, they've spent $1 billion on this brand over the 20, 30 years, right? The horses at the Super Bowl ad, like
all of it.
Just all of it. And then they have some woke marketing manager that does this. puts a transgender
Mhm.
on a can of, if that never passed your mind, that the
Mhm.
audience that you sell
I
to,
know.
which is middle America, a little bit redneck, a little bit like
Mhm.
these are salt of the earth people,
Mhm. Mhm.
and
Mhm.
you put a transgender on the aluminum can of Bud Light.
Right.
Like how that didn't get flagged.
Yeah.
Like
Forget the agenda.
forget all that.
It's just terrible marketing
It's
and
terrible
terrible
business.
advertising. It's literally like you trying to sell Tithely to
Atheists.
atheists,
Right.
legitimately.
Exactly.
Right? It's like it's the most asinine thing
Right.
ever, just from a pure like marketing standpoint.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
They've lost 15 billion in market cap since April 1st.
Yep. So like let's put the LGBTQ plus issue over here for a second. We're just talking about this business decision. I'm happy to talk about the other thing, but this is a business decision. So what's the lesson? Don't hire people that don't understand your customer.
Right.
Don't have people working for you that don't understand your mission. Budweiser's mission is to sell inexpensive, okay tasting beer to the middle of the country.
Exactly.
That's what their mission is. And you put someone in there that either didn't understand or had an agenda so different to the agenda of the company that they went and made a decision like this. I don't know if it went up the chain. I don't know if someone else had to sign off on this or they just went rogue. And I'm sure it must have gone all over the company. So here's another thing. Like this person creates this marketing campaign, dreams it up. It starts getting signed off. Manufacturing has to be involved. Obviously, sales is involved. Distribution's involved. Like management is involved all through this decision. And it made it through and it exploded. Like that half the company that was touched this thing needs to be fired.
Yep.
It was insane.
Yeah, it's really crazy. Especially when you take into account, I think, they're initially what they realized or what they said was, we were trying to sort of change some of the narrative around our brand, right? Like it's like the frat boy country
you spent 40
drinking,
years
and it's so
building your brand.
Exactly. Especially when that same beer company owns many different beer brands that are marketed to completely different demographics, right?
Correct.
You've got, I don't know if they own like Stella, but or like you get all these different beers that are marketed in different ways, right?
Exactly.
It's like Bud Light is not that, and it's not going to be that, right?
Ever.
It's never going to be that. So why even take not just an ounce of time and focus, but money trying to change that narrative and then do it? And even if you wanted to do that, my gosh, there's a million different ways you could make the brand more palatable to a different demographic of people than doing that. It really does feel like a bit of a...
Not even. No, you've got your customers. Like, once you get your customers, you just sell them more of the product that they're buying. You don't try and, like, it's just 101. You spent, 50 years and billions of dollars building your brand to go and sell to a customer. If you want to go sell to the coasts, pick another one of your stable brands and go and do that. But
exactly,
don't try and but it's what it is. This woke thing has an agenda that transcends A, common sense, B, it transcends like business 101, and that's how like deranged these people are.
It's funny. I saw a thread on Twitter from a guy who is a professional advertiser, been doing it for years, and came out and was like, look, I'm a progressive, but let me explain to you why this was such a terrible idea. He said, first and foremost, alcohol is the single easiest product to market. Why? Because it's in many cases addictive. It is, people don't change brands. And what works is what has always worked. You put a beer in front of a beach or a pool or a sunny place. You put a tequila cocktail. Like he's like, there is no innovation in the way alcohol is marketed. And it's because there doesn't need to be. Right. Like it's literally someone who has gotten the easiest job in all of advertising, messing something up that shouldn't be messed up.
Right.
And so it really is a fascinating thing. Okay, so then you have Target. This is really interesting. So last week in Fortune magazine, the Target CEO was quoted saying that DEI has fueled much of our growth over the last 9 years, which is really interesting statement to make. That stock is now down 10% in the last 5 days because of very in your face LGBTQ
Right.
clothes,
Don't they have a whole
signage.
section? I haven't been at Target in 10 years, but they have a whole section,
Yep.
right? For, with the big rainbow and all the stuff.
Yeah. And there was, I guess there was all different types of clothes for men and women, and they were doing the big displays, and it became this whole thing. They pretty much immediately pivoted that pretty quickly, but again, not before their stock.
Look,
10% for a company like Target is massive.
It is.
And these are two brands that should, like, I guess my question is what are the forces, and this sounds dark, I don't mean it in like the conspiratorial way, but what are the forces at work getting these companies that are like so solid and don't take risks and just do what they do, wash, rinse, repeat? Like, what are the things that are forcing them to do this?
So, okay, this is my opinion. I think there's, and we're Christians. This podcast is about the intersection of faith and Christianity and business, right? This is a great topic for us to talk about. So, but there's a line that transcends being a Christian, and it's children. Children is the line. So if you're above the age of consent, which whatever that is, if you're 18 and
17,
older,
18,
yeah, you go and do whatever you want. Like, if you ask me my opinion about what you should do in life, I'm going to give you my opinion. But you know what? You're going to go live your life. So go and live your life. And this is the same in the Florida bill, and all this, it's all in the same category. Books to children, like drag shows in schools, it's in the same category. It's children. So when you bring your agenda, which we don't, subscribe to, but that's your agenda, that's the way you're choosing to live your life, and you're an adult, you go and do it. As soon as you cross the line where it starts affecting kids, you will erupt the vast silent majority of people who do not want your agenda being put on their children. And so in both of these cases, not so much less the Bud Light one, but the Target one, is you're creating bathing suits for transgender 10-year-olds. Like, just let those words like come out of your mouth. Like transgender bathing suits for children. And you didn't think people were going to just hit, so the line is children, whether it's books or drag shows or clothes or whatever. Don't mess with children. And what you're doing is you're trying to put there, because you're trying to build your team, you're trying to build your community. And when you go after kids, that's a line. And parents, I'm telling you, man, Bud Light might not recover. Target, is obviously backtracking pretty quick here. But I mean, for us as believers, we're called to be tolerant and love people, but we're also called to like draw lines in the sand and say, this is what we believe. And I have compassion for everyone. And it's a whole nother subject that really is kind of not in our purview, to talk about. But, you can be compassionate and love people. Like Jesus was compassionate and he loved everyone, but he said, here's what's right, here's what's wrong, here's how we live, here's how we're not living. And that's what we do. That you just can't gray it all out, right? You just got to make a stand on what you believe and then live to that. We need grace because we all make mistakes all the time, and we need God to forgive us. But to just overtly live a way that, that God hasn't designed us to live, it's just you can't go there. So, and look, there's segments of Christianity right now that are splitting the church. Like the United Methodist Church is splintering. The Episcopal Anglicans are splitting. Like they're just saying, no, we're not going into this kind of liberal kind of, area. So anyway, that's a rant. But children is the line. And so the lesson is if you want to propagate your agenda, like have at it, like marketing to adults, but you start putting like children's bathing suits, accommodating transgender, it's insanity, absolute insanity.
Well, it really is. And we all, it's funny. We always talk about a free market, right? A market of goods and services, supply and demand, a market of ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, the market has really shown what they think about this kind of activity. Yeah. And it's just not necessary. I think that's my thing, is it's just not necessary. Right. There are plenty of Christian companies. Chick-fil-A is a famous Christian company.
Yeah.
And they may have over the years very subtly done certain things, whether it's, the Bible verse on the bottom or whatever the stuff that they've done. They're closed on Sundays, but like no non-Christian would walk into a Chick-fil-A and feel like they're having an agenda pushed on them.
No.
And I think that's what's so interesting. And then when you mix that with business, you sort of go like, gosh, are we really in a day where, and it goes back to the Coinbase conversation we had 2 years ago, 18 months ago, which was the CEO saying, there is no we are a business that exists to make money, serve our customers, build products, and employ people. And this is not a mission. This is not a advocacy.
But you said something like the Chick-fil-A thing. Remember when, I'm not sure it was New York or LA, they opened and then there was like this massive protest that they were anti-LGBTQ, but the line to get into Chick-fil-A went around like 25 blocks and like
exactly.
It's like, the way Chick-fil-A does it, and they don't say much. Their actions are they're closed on Sunday, and you go, oh, why do you do that? It's like, oh, we're Christians and we want our staff to be able to go to church, which I think is the reason. I don't think they're like Seventh-day Adventists, or whatever, which is Saturday. But they're not like, oh, Sunday is so sacred we can't do anything. It's like, no, we just want people to, have time with their family and whatever. So, so that's all they say, right? And then they get attacked for being because they're Christians, because they're anti-LGBT. And so, but no one cares because they're not stuffing it in your face. They're just saying, hey, this is us. This is how we're going to do business. But so that's like 0.000% of what they're saying. Then they just go and make great chicken sandwiches. That's the business.
Right.
So we're just going to make great chicken sandwiches. No one's coming in here because we're Christians. They're coming here for the food. Right. So just go and make products that people want to buy. But you start pushing these type of agendas on children, and I'm glad. It's just you cannot. You have to think common sense when it comes to these issues, and we're watching before our own eyes the most ridiculous decisions being made by business that it just defies common sense. And, it's just, and they're going to pay, and like, good. I want them to pay. Apart from what I believe, like what I feel a lot of what they do is evil. I think like beyond just, hey, you're going to go live your life as an adult, have at it. But pushing your agenda down to children, that's demonic. And so I want them to pay.
Yeah, I mean, I want to be able to buy my beer. I want to be able to just go to a store and buy what I need to buy without having. It's like it's so different than I don't want to walk into a grocery store and have people preaching sermons at me. I don't want that.
Exactly.
So it's this ideology thing, and I think if you're building a business or if you're a part of a business that is moving in an ideological direction, like gosh, man, like have a mission, fine, but the mission should be to serve the customer. And the mission should be to make great products.
Amen.
And I think that's the learn. That's the learn here. The market will validate every single or invalidate every single thing that you do. Okay. Lastly, today, I wrote a quote. This is for all you youngins that are listening. I wrote a quote that I absolutely actually loved. Maybe I love it because it was my story, but I want to hear what you think about it. So I saw this quote on Twitter. It says, when you're in your 20s, you should spend a little bit of time doing something that's sort of crazy, insane, unprofitable, unorthodox, because that's going to be your touchstone and the foundation of your success later on. This was specifically talking about career.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I agree. What happens is, I'm going to be 60 in a couple of years. The older you get, the more conservative you become, not politically, although that's true too. The older you get, the more conservative you just take less risk. So things I did in my 20s, what can I point to? Oh, I got on airplanes and flew to third world countries without knowing who I was going to find and develop relationships to preach the gospel. Like, I literally turn up in Sri Lanka one day. I found people in the phone book. I looked up churches in the phone book, called the guy up. I'm like, hey, my name's Dean. I'm an evangelist. Like, can I come and take you for lunch? And the guy's like, sure. I end up developing like a lifelong friendship. I go back many times and preach. I had an address in India, and this is pre-email. And because you couldn't call India in the 80s. And so I landed in New Delhi, forgot that it was winter in the Northern Hemisphere, was freezing my butt off, had to go buy a coat, took like a little 3-wheel taxi, 2.5 hours to the edges of New Delhi, and turned up at this nunnery, and they were praying. You're in a prayer meeting. And the servant guy comes running out and he's like, who are you? I go, I'm Dean the evangelist. They're praying. They're praying in the prayer meeting. God, send someone to preach the gospel. God, we need a move of God. And I turn up in the prayer meeting. It was like, and like the stories go on and on, right? So would I do that today? No. But if you're in your 20s and, take the risks, do crazy stuff, because those are some of the fondest memories of my life. I'll never forget it. Being in Rwanda for 6 weeks, drinking warm Fanta and eating popcorn, because the meat that was hanging in the mug had so many maggots on it, I didn't want to touch it. And losing 20 pounds. Maybe I should do Rwanda again for 6 weeks and lose 20 pounds. But, just absolutely couldn't agree more. Take risks, discover yourself, discover what you're good at, discover what you're not good at, and, help shape your career.
Try stuff. Yeah. You're totally right. It's the ultimate time to do that. Yeah. And you're so right. I mean, gosh, I'm about to have a second kid. The last thing, it's about risk management at this point, right? It's like, hey, I still want to be risky, but how do I not be, you know what I mean? It's the constant
every time.
Yeah, exactly. It's that every time I go to the grocery store to buy food for my kid, again, I'm reminded I got a lot of risk left that I can take in terms of those big risks. That's so right on. I love those stories. It's almost like, we should. Here's the one thing. Okay, listen, the boomers get a lot of flack. Get a lot of flack.
Yeah.
But there is nothing not like men who came up in ministry in the 80s and 90s and their stories compared with us young guys that to go plant a church, we want $250K or more, and we need 100 people on our launch team, and we need it's like these stories of these older guys, man, they literally just got on planes and went places and moved to cities where they knew nobody and planted churches. It's so good.
Love it.
Yeah. I love that. Maybe if you're listening, I don't know, take a risk, learn to try and build an AI tool. Try and start a company. Go work for a company for less money, but do it because you believe in it. And the founder's got something you can learn, something that you want to learn from. It's it really is a perfect time.
100%.
Perfect time to do that. All right. Well, I think that's all we got for today. Brooks Koepka winning PGA events, which is always good.
Oh man, don't stop me. That was
other
awesome.
than
that was even
it was
my
awesome,
wife,
wasn't it?
Who's not a golf watcher, she said to me, man, that was great television. Like, seeing Brooks win. And because my dad was in town, who taught me to golf when I was 8. So we played on Sunday, and then we watched the PGA on Sunday, and man,
that's awesome.
Weekend. It was awesome.
I love it. Awesome. Well, Dean, as always, thanks for taking the time to do this. If you're listening, go to our website, kingsandpriests.io. You can drop your email there. It keeps you all up to date, and you can find us on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, all that kind of stuff. And we'll see you right back here next week.